Hello, greetings, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Suresh Neethirajan, Associate Professor at Dalhousie University. We are going to talk about today sensors for animals in future food systems, how sensors and artificial intelligence technologies can bring solutions for practical problems in enabling the measurements of welfare and health indicating parameters, and thereby offer solutions for food safety for a number of sectors. What we currently term in terms of living is a VUCA world. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So, for example, this COVID scenario, which is preventing us to meet in person, although the situation is slowly changing, it has created a long-lasting impact in a number of sectors, especially the livestock sector and the way modern animal farming can be handled in the near future. From the science perspective, when we look at the perspectives of the genetics, environment, and phenotype, how these interplay mechanisms can be used, can be followed in terms of deriving inspirations to develop new solutions for enhancing the food safety in the livestock sector. Due to the sensing technologies, at least for the next 10 years, we know that the ways in which solutions cannot be solvable before can be solved in a unique and a new manner. We'll see a couple of examples. There is a concept of resilience. For example, if you can visualize an elastic band, when you stretch the elastic band, after a while it comes back to its original state. Similarly, for a different farm animal species, how the concept of resilience can play a role. If a early life pig or a cow is being exposed to a number of factors that are not quite friendly or natural for enabling the expression of the unique natural states and behavior, after the particular stressful state is being eliminated, how long it takes for that animal to come back to its original state. So that a particular latency period can be quantified, and we can measure to understand the ability of the animal to face very harshful, stressful situations that may be connected to zoonotic potential and other epidemiological factors. So there are a number of stimuli that happens. Could be resource related if there is a change in the nutrient associated to the feed given to the modern animals, but also the abiotic factors, the social network, how each individual species interacting with among themselves with other species animals, but also the animal caretakers and farmers that also has to be considered as a component in assessing the resilience. Pathogens, of course, norovirus, salmonella, listeria monocytogenes, E. coli, and other respiratory related pathogens and viruses, low abundance and high abundance, these all have to be considered as a component. But these are not just the physiological behavioral factors, but also new ways of determining the perceptions, the emotions associated to it. What I would call as a feelings, a valence component, how the internal state of the affective states of these animals can be tapped into. Can we be able to measure and connect that external manifestation of the behavior to the animal's capacity, mental capacity, physiological capacity, behavioral capacity in facing and overcoming the barriers associated to the stimulus. So this complex, interdependent, interconnected parameters can be used to develop and measure a number of variables, factors, and parameters. It could be immune related, immunological, reproduction, biochemical, or neurological, or just manifestation of external visible indicators of behavior. That could also be measured using a number of sensing technologies. So when a human being, especially the millennials or the post-millennials, when they walk into the supermarket, when they look at the different food products, they just not look only at the price. The awareness has increased so much in the past few years. So they also look at where does the food comes from, what is the sustainable value for this particular food, um, uh, what is the actual carbon footprint involved in the production of this food. But from a food safety inspector, he or she, when they walk around, they look at different aspects: health and wellness, how much nutritious it is, what are the social impact the particular food product can create, how much transparency involved, the logistics behind the farm to the fork through the supermarket. Those are different factors that analyzed and considered by the consumers and other involved society members. But sensing technology also has the potential to move away from reactive to predictive through proactive approaches. For example, in the modern animal farming, maybe a decade ago, we put some number of sensors on these animals, and then once the particular disease is manifested, we collect blood samples, urine, milk, feces, and analyze, look for pathogens, and say, okay, the disease progression is up to this. Can we be able to intervene? But now the primary focus is, even before that particular incidence happens, can we be able to predict what are the ways in which we could bring down the time of a zoonotic potential? So the predictive capability becomes a stronger driver, latest trend in the development and adoption of sensors technology in enabling, ensuring bigger food safety for the consumers. We also have to consider one dimension to multi-dimensional. So not looking from only one angle. When we consider the 360-degree view, um, what I don't know, but can I be able to know that particular don't know using the sensor technologies? So can we be able to derive critical insights based on known variables, but also elucidate and trying to create and explore those unknown variables in this journey towards predicting indicators? Also, how do we understand the subtleties behind it rather than looking from a gross level? Can we go deep dive into developing new ways of providing solutions for number of sectors associated to livestock, especially considering pigs, cows, and chickens? So most of us are currently wearing some kind of smartwatches, or at least the phones, mobile phones we are carrying. It's not just a way to communicate or exchange information. It also measures minute by minute data, how we are holding the smartphone. And we can understand the behavior of the person who is handling. We could measure the heart rate, the different activity indices, even the nutrition pattern, what kind of food they are taking, where they are going, geospatial analysis based on the different places they visit over a period of time, the traveling pattern. So these factors can provide new signs, new information that is not yet possible. Similarly, the same can be easily translated and adapted for the livestock sector. So we could understand the clinical state, for example, whether the animal is aggressive or lameness associated parameters, and move from the high level indicators to the low level futures, the gait pattern, the social avoidance. If there is a isolation of a particular animal due to specific negative exposure, those are some of the parameters we could tap into based on a number of wearable sensing technologies. So digital phenotyping in livestock farming is slowly becoming a reality by inspirations from biomedical applications for humans. There are also concepts like multimodal digital analysis can be possible. For example, we have been putting right now only a RFID tag for the ears or just a simple accelerometer on the neck of the animals. That's about it. But how do we go beyond that by incorporating visual, audio, odor, and other parameters and build a holistic understanding of the clinical state, behavioral indicators, and even mental affective states. So the unimodal to bimodal to multimodal data analysis can also provide enriched new information that can easily be connected to the pathological, physiological, and also the psychological mental states of these animals that are connected very much to the food safety issues in the society. So where are we so far? What has been done? What is commercially available? What yet need to be explored in the precision livestock farming? Number one is when we look at it, there are quite a few companies currently geared towards manufacturing and translating some of these sensing technologies. Um, um, these activity-based monitors are quite common. Cameras are currently being used for a large number of applications, just a video-based monitoring, the posture detection, body score condition, and also the gait patterns of these animals. There are also infrared cameras understanding how the heat signatures, thermal scores radiate on the skin of these animals. They also can be used to provide new information that's connected to the pathological and epidemiological information associated to these animals. But only a handful of sensing technologies are commercially available and can be easily translated for practical applications. To be able to move for understanding a little more in-depth information, there is a need for developing novel sensing technologies. Maybe a couple of examples I could give. One is a odor volatile metabolite. So now when the cow or a pig take in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, it's not just the carbon dioxide that's coming out. In addition to that, the gut microbiota, odor volatile metabolite signatures, and other biochemical indicators in a very low abundant fashion is also being eliminated from the body. So how do we develop or use sensing technologies to tap into those signatures that could provide additional information that is not yet easily available? Saliva is another parameter. It's a non-invasive technology. Can we be able to put a little lollipop or some kind of capillary force derived sensor that can extract the salivary molecules and look for low abundance molecules and connect to the behavioral, physiological, biochemical changes in a real-time fashion. So there is a gap that it need to be addressed, but with the number of interests that's been shown by the commercial partners and the research worldwide, much progress are currently happening in this area. So unimodal to bimodal to multimodal data via sensor technologies. Number one, for example, facial expression. Currently, sensors are currently being used in airports that captures videos of the faces of humans. There has been, so that inspiration allowed us to develop new facial recognition technologies to understand the emotional and the affective states makeup of these cows and pigs. Number two is vocalization. When a particular information is being exchanged, when two animals talk to each other, based on the different frequency, the signal to noise ratio associated, the vocalization can also provide much more new information. Activity, of course, olfactory breath analysis, heart rate and heart rate variability data, thermal imaging, radio frequency identification tag, and other non-invasive biomarkers and biochemical data. So when we combine, integrate, fuse all of these data together, the multimodality provide much more critical information that could allow us to shift the needle from reactive to predictive with much more ease in enabling and enhancing the food safety measures. Couple of examples I would give from our group here in Wageningen is a project initiative collaborating with the institute called Hold Center. The idea here is how do we measure multiple parameters from one particular hardware? So here we are, what we are seeing here is a patch which allows us to measure heart rate, respiration rate, and the activity, all three simultaneously. It's like a little tattoo that can be put on the skin of the cows or pigs. And via Bluetooth or LoRa technologies, like a long range frequency based measurement, we would be able to measure all three vital parameters simultaneously, continuously in a real time fashion. So this is a technology currently being developed in collaboration with Whole Center and other partners. There are also commercially available technologies, and also in partnership, we are looking at translating how these could be used for other applications. Here, for what we see here is a wearable sensor for measuring continuous blood flow biomarkers. Microderm needle that can penetrate under the skin, and this, due to the connection with the continuous flow, via electrochemical and optical based sensing technologies, novel biomarkers can be measured in real time. There are also ingestible pill that's currently under developed or implant based biosensors. The pill can be swallowed inside the gut of the cows or pigs, and that can measure a number of enzymes, proteins that provides information regarding the microbiome associated with the food, the feed, nutrient, and other supplements that the animal is being fed. So we can determine the relationship to the gut, to the brain, how the connections, and because of the connections, how different variations in the physiology as well as the behavior is causing. Of course, we also take into account the feces and poop and milk and urine and do a correlation analysis to determine the different indicators associated to the health of the animal. I will give you quickly a couple of examples regarding how video technology can be used, currently being used to measure a number of parameters. We developed a platform called Chick Track, which has the ability to measure the gait pattern and the activity of the chickens inside poultry industry. This is a quick demonstration. So what we see here is this is a 100% non-invasive. There is no manhandling involved. By using artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, we are able to measure every step the chicken is making, and also able to track what is the preferential migration pattern of these chickens inside the particular video. How many times these chickens are basically moving towards the feed, towards the water stations, how do they interact with each other, what kind of social network they connect and make. So those kind of quantitative information can be made just by video analysis with the help of these algorithms. So an example of the architecture of the model. So this is not just a proof of concept. This can be easily translated to industry by working with the hardware architecture and other manufacturers in scaling up, in commercializing for large scale applications from just a proof of concept experimental phase. So some of the ways, how do we enable this technology for low resource settings versus high resource settings? For example, if it's an intensive poultry production, such as in Netherlands, we are the one of the top 3 exporters here in for the world in terms of agricultural output productivity. But what is the possibility of using this technology for low resource settings, maybe an Asian country or African country, that can also be done perhaps in a semi-quantitative or a more of a qualitative approach using low resource hardware components. So we try our best to make it more open source by providing some of these algorithms, the workflow processes, so people can pick it up and they can build their own systems for low resource countries. Here is an example of how this technology is being used in understanding the migration patterns. We are seeing a little circle here. There are a large number of birds that they tend to prefer to move towards northern direction than the south. The west is less, but the east is more. So we can also track gait patterns. For example, how much of the body weight for individual chickens in a large number of species in a particular frame, that can be assessed. We could also ID, like individually identify number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. in particular frame. So this ability to identify can also help us to understand the source of where the problem. So identifying the source is indeed possible in terms of developing interventions and management strategies for the farmers using this technology. Moving forward very quickly, for example, facial recognition system. Again, this is a completely non-invasive. There are a few challenges we are overcoming. For example, how do we install the cameras so that we are able to get the full view of the faces of the cows and pigs? Only partial currently is possible. So can we be able to install kinetic depth and 3-dimensional cameras in acquiring these additional data to be able to make those judgment calls in understanding the problematic behavior and the different affective states of these animals? Here is a demonstration of the video that shows how the algorithm can prevent the different mental states: frustration, excitement, aggressiveness, alert and neutral. Is it a positive versus negative versus the neutral state? How these animals are feeling in that particular moment, in that context, related to the ambience, related to the environment it is exposed to. Non-invasive insight to biochemical monitoring of physiological status via, for example, the use of sweat can also enable new forms of healthcare diagnostics and personalized hydration strategies. So it's more like a Fitbit type sensor technology that can measure not just the heartbeat and temperature, but also the biochemical analysis. For example, we could screen for low abundance molecules and provide understanding of the pathogens. Here in this case, we have demonstrated we could measure the paratuberculosis, byproduct of bacteria, using this particular device. So the real-time electrochemical lamp, or the e-lamp platform, can also enable us to understand the disease prognostics and disease diagnosis. There is also a new concept called theranostics. We can combine therapeutic and diagnostics together. So as soon as the disease is being diagnosed, the same platform can provide specific grades of pharmaceutical components injected into the body. So it's a simultaneous detection and therapeutic possibility via new sensing technologies, also at the forefront in terms of enhancing the food safety related aspects. Instrument versus instrumentless. For low resource settings, we could also use a number of platforms. For example, these microfluidic technologies, thread-based techniques. What we see here on the right side, there is a thread microfluidic biosensor. This was developed to understand and quantify and distinguish between the presence or absence of avian coronavirus and fowl adenovirus from respiratory samples, sputum of the nasal samples from the birds, especially turkey and the poultry birds, as well as the cows. So because of the possibility of real-time data transmission, as soon as the disease pathogen is immediately detected, that can be transported. The information can be made available readily to the decision-making persons. It could be a food safety inspector or the animal caretaker or the veterinarian then and there in that particular moment. This possibility of transmission of data in real time via these hardware and sensing technologies allows us to open up new ways of enabling food safety and also handling the epidemiological aspects towards health and welfare management of the animals. So that's not just about it. There are also quite a few challenges we need to overcome. Of course, the lack of internet speed in the rural area. How fast? Is there a latency associated? Is there a delay in the availability of technologies for a large number of users in rural sector? How efficiently the data can be captured and the data can be analyzed and shared and visualized for non-technical users? What are the ethical implications associated to it? The noble intention here is to solve a problem in animal health and animal welfare. But are there any unseen ethical implications? What about the human and animal interactions? Does it help to enhance the quality, or maybe make the create the distance between humans and animals, farmers and the animals? Those are some of the ethical implications we need to look at it. And also, are we looking at objectifying these animals? Or we make it much more mechanical oriented rather than looking at these animals as a living being? So how these sensor technologies either enable or disable this quality of interactions has to be seriously considered when developing some of these technologies. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to connect with you. I wish you a wonderful day. Thanks a lot. Bye.